That's cute.
Ready? Let's go!
Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're going to be taking a look at Stray Kids' My Pace. We have a performance version, a dance practice, and we have a music video to look at. Pretty pumped about it. I've been really enjoying my time under my marathon with Stray Kids, and I really like the lyricism that they've been bringing, particularly in this era, so I'm excited to see what this one has to offer, so let's check it out. That's cute. Clean. Nice. Nice. That's it. Cute. No. Definitely playful for sure. Yeah, this feels like one of many takes they probably had to do in this run, like in this rehearsal time. I liked that choice of the ba-ba-ba, it was cool. I'm a fan of that section with the reverb at the end. Cool. Ooh. Some of their rotations do have a certain degree of stiffness behind them when how they're turning, but I don't mind it as much. I really like that part. Definitely makes it feel we're having fun, really enjoying our time, not meant to take it so seriously. It was good. Ooh, okay. Performance version right here. Let's go. It has like a block B mischievousness behind it, I think. Yeah. There's a lot of keyframing happening here. Cool. They were actually cleaner the dance practice for that part. That ding ding. 돼. Ooh, I still like that part a lot. Am I gonna take a guess today? I think so. Shall I take a guess of who Changbin is? Is it my guy in the black visor? Because I'm trying to go off of tone. And it's pretty tony like Changbin. So let me know, am I close? I'm gonna organically know their names over. I got a lot of material I'm gonna be looking at with these guys, so I have a feeling I'm gonna learn them all pretty quickly over time. I like the subtlety with the big dip on the second one. That's nice. Nice. Mmm. Ow! Na 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 na. Cool. Cool. Way to go. Are they going to show that they're done? Yay! Let's go home! Run, boys, run! Hey, I like that. They all do this so different, and that's what makes it really funny to me. A lot of glitch effects, too.
난 아직 나의 목적지가 어딘지는 몰라 I don't know 저기 결승선에 내 모습이었던 모습일지 몰라 I want to know 하지만 일단 내 앞에 길이 달려 고민은 나아가는 길에서 그때까지는 자꾸 나의 앞을 돌아보지 마 It's in my spirit, my face Ready? Let's go.
Dope. That was so much glitch. So many glitches happening all the time. Okay. I mean, what's interesting with the lyricism, it definitely is like, it's, hey, you know what? We compare ourselves, but there's no need to. Go at your own pace. It's okay. Like, is it strange? I don't think it's strange. I just find it interesting that out of all the marathons so far, this one feels like over the time, like I'm looking at least in these earlier works, I don't know, like it's hard to not pay attention to the lyricism on the music videos. Like a lot of times I can, I just kind of see the lyrics, I kind of get the gist, but in this case here, it really does feel like I'm invested more in what they're saying or the intention. Now, do they keep that through their discography? I don't know. We'll know as time tells. But at least in this beginning era, that's definitely something that's sticking out to me is the intention behind a lot of what they're talking about. Some things are relevant to age, but some things I think are relevant to life. And so I'm able to really relate to that because I am fully aware, I know for myself, that there is multiple people that probably look just like me who are better at what I'm doing than I am. And that's something like that's just the way of life. Like there's always gonna be somebody better than you. And it's what you do with that information. For me, am I gonna let that bog me down? Am I gonna let that be something that defines me as a person? It shouldn't. It just depends on the day sometimes. We all go through it. So I actually appreciate the intention of the lyricism a lot because it helps be able to extend more grace to the choreography because that's the concept that they're going with is not really doing a huge comparison. So them dancing super squeaky clean on all of it doesn't really feel on brand with what the intention of the track is, I guess, if that makes sense. So it's cool. So in the beginning, it does have, like I said, a very block B niche vibe about it, especially this whole beginning part. It reminds me of a very, very good, like that vibe. And like everyone's just kind of, vibing. Some people are pretty still. Some are a little bit more vibey. I like that. Na 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 na. He slowly comes up. Na 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 na. He takes it, brushes it off. Everybody gets up to prep. I love the high five. I like how we build up the energy. As his tone gets louder, our movements get more loud, meaning that there's more full. And also, they're not just hitting the whole counts. They're switching between the fullness of the clap with the wow, wow, wow. So they're doing some subtle sound. They're teetering between two different types of sounds going on. I like that. Fun. Feels very like head, shoulders, knees, and toes, but definitely they just built it up the opposite way, which I think is fun. You have the other two. Honestly, this was cleaner here than it was in the performance version, which I find interesting. When I see performance versions, sometimes like what we ended up seeing, my gut tells me they were on set and they were there and they ran it a couple times and then they just pieced it together. It's kind of what it looks like, which is totally fine. I think those are great when you get extra content out of it, a different perspective cinematically, which I always think is fun. But anyway, we're building up the energy and it's so much more full with more people, of course, and definitely we have more like a burn. There's more of a drive in the back, which I like. In the switching every other, so you have line 2 that is going, they're going lower, and then those that are everywhere else, they're going up. And what makes it interesting is because it doesn't feel like we have 3 lines. It feels like we have 2 diagonals and a mini group. So that's why it feels more sporadic than if it was 3 lines with windows, because you have going from a group of 4 to a 3 and then to a 2. So you're starting to build up a pyramid, but there's no point in the center. So I like that choice. It's cool. It's simple but effective. And then right there, they immediately go into those 2 diagonals with the mini group. So that's how the formation was structured. So having it as every other is normally not what I'm personally used to seeing in that formation, which I like. So everybody continuing, doing the, shoulder taps and then having your group of 3 switch. I like that. boom, very full. You can tell off of his fringe. He had a lot of power behind that, and I could feel it. And it matched very well with the dropout, that boom, and everybody hinging away. Really like that choice. Of course, people are making subtly different angles or differences. Some are lower than others because of the type of track. Like I said, I'm not really super focused or worried about the synchronicity because the concept doesn't really call for that as a go-to thing. Regardless if a group's known for it or not, the concept really tells more than a group does. So yeah, but like da 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 boom boom boom. So they take it. It does feel like our rock's a little bit more resisted here. Our pickup of our feet is definitely improved in range. Notice everybody's picking up their feet a little bit more fully than we saw in the early stuff, which I think is really nice. And I also like the speed change from our outside lines as they hold it up, and then my other two continue on those bases. Your feature's still in center, easy to see. That barrel, very clean. Those moments there, having everybody on the same page makes us appreciate those visuals a little bit better. Going stage left and stage right, nice, contributing to his overall tone on that part. Hitting dee lean, I like that. I do normally see people take the ribs and accent them up, not really accent, but directionally pull the energy to the upper corner. I think you notice it from, I don't know, I don't think Felix, it's right here. I think it's my back guy right there. Everybody else is taking it and they're bending, and it's subtle, but it's not like a focal point. I think the head and the arms are more of a focal point for that move, but I normally see people use the ribs to help make that bigger. So that's just an interesting observation. I like that point. They take it, rotate it, and then they tap and connect at the elbow. I like that part. I like having the interruption of the shoulders, really cool. Having my back guy hinge over, but his is very like, what do you want? You know, it's very chill, but definitely demanding of presence, which is cool. And it goes to the other side. It's like, you're talking to me. There's like a stoic pride about it, which I like because it's an opposition. The hinge is opposite than everybody else, and they're still continuing to create an interruption on the other side. So I would just really think they're just shaking the shoulder to make it match that sound. I don't know if there's a particular technique they're doing, but I like that choice. It was a fun interruption for sure. Take the arms out. I appreciate the fact that we had some sense of something happening in the upper body as they transition out. Sometimes people just move. Basket runs are where do you see those instances, but I like the fact we don't have a basket run there. Helps us really enjoy what we're seeing. The pull in is really nice. Boom. Do-do-do. Notice the pop of levels, and they all framed spherically and from inside, from the bottom all the way up to the top, and the arms expanded out, so it allowed our feature to kind of feel like we're blossoming from a machine gun flower, kind of is how I would word it. I like he was the only one that moved. Fun, definitely more playful in his, not really trotting, but he's bouncing a little bit more in the type of space that he's in. Everybody else is very still, so it's very easy to see who your feature is there. Everybody joins back in. Hajima, it says, hey, don't do that. I get it. Once again, it's a little playful. I think that's a really appropriate place to be. Hajima, like, don't be like that. Don't take yourself so seriously. Don't compare yourself like that. And that's honestly, as much as we hate, as much as we try to combat that, it's kind of freaking impossible to never compare yourself. When someone says, oh, I don't compare myself, part of me, it's like, it's hard not to. It just depends on what it is. Like, I feel like everybody does. It just depends on the niche, especially if you have a lot of pride in it. It's hard not to, or you get some sense of joy when somebody compares you, but you're the better one of the comparison, if that makes sense. So I feel like some people like being compared to when it works in your favor, but some people don't like the comparison when it doesn't work in your favor. I've noticed that with me sometimes, but also I think comparing on an analytical standpoint, I think, is one thing, but comparing for the sake of defining someone's value and worth, I don't believe in, and I don't agree with. But I understand doing a compare and contrast is something we're taught in school, so that's something we're inept to naturally want to do, because it helps us know if we're on the right track. It's like, okay, I'm here doing this thing. Someone else at my age is doing this thing, or they're doing above and below. How do we measure if someone's on the right track or not? Right? I feel our world is full of comparison. So when someone, I mean, as much as I appreciate their intention behind their lyricism, it is really hard to combat comparing, because we're kind of always keen to want to do it in anything and everything, regardless if we consciously do it. But I understand for them, it's in the particular niche of what they individually struggle with. I think part of it is like your visuals, or like how you physically look, your competency of your craft, like things that are related to this line of work, being an idol, is what I'm assuming it's pertaining to, but also to their fan base of anything that you compare yourself to school, to your job. If anything, I think I'm in the position of, if you do choose to compare yourself, make sure there's grace built in. I think don't let the comparison be the final result. A comparison is a snapshot. I would put it that way. It's a lifelong journey, and just because you're in one position in life doesn't mean that you're going to stay there forever, good and bad. So that's just my take on it. I'm actually very curious about y'all's perspectives on it. If you wanna let me know in either Patreon or YouTube what your thoughts are whenever somebody talks about don't compare yourself. How difficult is that to actually not do in a realistic sense? But anyway, I digress. I really appreciate the message, is what I really mean to say in all of this. I like that part, dee 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 dee, and I like the swing of the arms. Notice that they have opposition of the chest to make the arms look more full in the direction they're going towards. So I like that. Little shoots to transition. Not everybody's doing the same arms, but they do the same legs, which works. That was cool. They rotate down, and then they do a nice little knee switch, and they end up going in different diagonals. So they made an X formation, which I'm actually pretty impressed of how clear it is to see the formation for how quick they got into it. So that was pretty good. Very easy to see who your feature is, because he ain't going to the ground. I think that's Bang Chan. Cool. And they come up, and I like the fact that they don't stop and then they accent up. Does that leave a lot of room for range error? The answer is yes. You can see the accents are different from all four of them, but does it bother me? Not really, because it's the dance practice, and for the it's this choreo or this song makes me not want to compare them. I think they did their job. I think it worked. Way to go. Dropping it down, very nice to have your group match your feature that's in the back, and then you have your 4 drop down. That was a really fun sequence of transitions that took place. That was cool. The pull, dee 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 dee, woo, nice. And then we go. New formation, that do 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 do. Now I don't know, was that supposed to be a peel out or something like that? Feels that way. So you have one of your guys in the middle, and I think it peeled from inside and traveled back. Do 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 do. I like it. I could very clearly hear the percussion by their visual. So that means that was a really good choice, because it was very easy to connect what they were going for, and it didn't feel like they were off either. So I liked that. I like that choice. Da, da, da. Nice little shoulder ISO, and everybody like call in response, which was really cool. And it matches his echo. Let's go, choreographer. And then you have different levels represented with the arm. That part, that was cleaner here than it was in the performance version if you compare the two. See, comparison. Sorry. But when you do the poke out, that boom boom, it's nice. That was very clean, and you have different levels represented, and you still have framing happening around your feature, which is in the center. So that works out great. Cool. The swing through, boom, I like that choice as well. The running, I like that too, that run. Instead of just straight running with the leg in the back, they end up crossing it in like a coupe position. So like, if this was my leg and this was my other leg, instead of, I can't really do it with my arms, but like, rah, rah, instead of right, like running, they're like tucking it behind, if that makes sense. I don't quite know how to do it outside of standing up to do it, but I like that choice. It's building up well, that boom, 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 boom. We're picking up the pace. It looks really great. The throw through, nice. It looks like he did throw with his arm more so than his back, which is fine. We do have some more fullness that takes place in other contexts of the choreo, which is cool. Some people are jumping, some picked up, so I think that's something that is interesting, that some have a little hop, some have their foot fully planted and they're just picking up the foot, and then others just have both feet off the ground. That was cool. I think in the context of what the move is, yeah, Dee Dee, I think a little hop, it could just be timing is what I just caught. Dee Dee, I think having a hop to allow you extra bend or fullness from going high to low does help, and it provides an extra leverage for more power with your back. I think that looks cool. The setup, boom, boom. I like that as well. Super cool. Then there's a huge jump there, my pace, and then yeah, my pace. So very full in energy, so it feels very declarative in physicality, or so like the fullness of the movement itself feels very full, and I like that. And because it feels, we're gonna get in your face about it because we truly feel this way. It comes across in that way, and I like the message and intention behind it, so it doesn't bother me really that much at all. That was nice too. They take it, the arm stays behind, that leg, there's an extra tap there, looks great. Pulling it through, boom, boom, pull, dun, dun, dun. Nice with the turn. Then they take it, boom, speed change, but they have something accenting on the tempo that's picking up, so I like that choice. And then you have your feature also accenting, but to the front, more like a conversation. Looks great. Then they accent it, feature is accenting forward, so that was a fun frame, just like that machine gun flower we saw earlier. The pull, one, no, he pulls, everybody drops. That's really nice that we have different movements, but they're complementary to each other. Looks great. That run, that part did feel more like a trot, boom, boom. I was expecting that type of run earlier, but we got a little cut off, but I liked the choice. Here, we pick it up, but it's more of like an interruption in the transition than what we saw earlier. That was cool. A little alpha moment there, then we swivel it, then we have something that syncopates with the arm. Yeah, da-da, and then it goes na 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 right there. I think personality and performance up here really does help in coming across with your intention and your message. Looks great. Then there's your gun again, na na na. Normally I see people nay that, but I like the hop between the feet on that. Oh wait, I think some of them actually did nay it back. Na na. Oh, so my feature hopped it, but the others nay-nayed it. So that's, see, I told you, this move I'm normally used to seeing people do a nay-nay with, but he hopped it. I liked it. And then everybody moves over if they're not in frame. Then I like the da-da-da-da. Cool. And it gets everybody right back on the same page. That was fun with your feature over on stage, right? And everybody peel the energy back. And then you have... everyone does it so different, and I actually really like that. It showcases individuality. We're like, here's the move, do it your way. It feels like that because we were so clean in the movement before and in the dynamic before, and that's why there is beauty in the skill set of synchronicity, and having it can help placate to your individuality for this reason right here, because they were so clean in how they set it up. When they broke away, the dynamic or who added on was very clean, but how they're doing it is so different, and the commitment up here allowed me to extend grace to them to appreciate it in the way that they are doing it, which is cool. And by in turn, it makes me feel like, I can do it my own way too, you know, which is nice. Then you have stage left, somebody, if I'm gonna guess, dance practice, is this could be Changbin. That's going to be my guess for the dance practice. I think I saw him in the beginning of the performance version, right? Is Changbin going to turn into a Where's Waldo for the group? We're going to find out because every group has one. It's just been taking a second for me to find some people in this one. But I like the chest rotation that my guy back here is doing. I'm used to seeing there's a really big fullness or a hinge that helps make this look more exaggerated, but it feels a little bit more muted, or we're all a little bit more propped up. And I noticed that in some of their rotations and some of their crump influenced isolation choices. And the reason why I say crump specifically is because some of the posture that they're holding, the fullness of some of their base choices do placate similarly to what I see in movement quality coming from crump, but I'm not going to give them the style. But would it shock me if there was some inspiration from crump for this? Not at all, because crump is very declarative, but in a very full, powerful, raw way. And for an intention and message like this, you could, you know, entertain that thought process, especially if it's a Block B rebellious vibe. I can see that, which is cool. I like the rebel vibe. Then I like the choice where everybody's framing, or at least their head is looking towards the inside, so we see our feature, but everyone's complementing and doing the same movement. Looks nice there. Taking it through. This part right here did feel a bit labored in comparison to the first time we saw it. First time everybody was doing it, but here it's its own feature moment. And because they turned to the back, it kind of just felt like a move that we're trying to get right versus a move that was a really cool, captivating moment. I think it's just, it could be a personal personal preference thing, not just, or just an observation. It could be also the majority of the rotation happened towards the back, or the focal point happened towards the back versus towards us. So we weren't left with a lot to imagine in comparison to if they actually did it to where the focal point was towards the front. But I digress. Hitting it through, ding, ding, boom, cool. Then you have your, of course, your V's that expand out. So instead of it being the 3 and then you have the 2 V's on the outside, it's inverted. It's created a embellished V almost, where you have your 3 and then they have it expanded and added on. The chug on that's really nice. This part's fun, like the tension there. Notice they're pulling from that back and that shoulder and that hip ever so slightly. Then they dig it to the other side. Opposition of the head does add it, make it feel more, you know, but in a playful way, which is cool too. I like that boom, boom, boom on the basses. Great there in the transition. Throw, da-da. Okay, Changbin. Yeah, my guess is here. That's Changbin for me today. We'll see if I'm right. If I'm off, we'll try again next video. But that triple, I think his section is my favorite section in the whole thing. Not really because of tone as much, but because of that boom, boom, boom. Every time I saw that part, it really caught me off guard in a great way. Because it doesn't go on 5 and 6. It goes da-da, bum, bum, bum. It doesn't end a phrase. It like bleeds between the phrases. Ba-da-da. Oh, how would I count that? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 4 and 5. We don't go 4 and 5 because 1, 2. Normally you have people go 1, 2, 3, and 4, or 5, 6, 7, and 8. You don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like that's such a fun, interrupted, syncopated moment that catches you off guard because normally in choreographic structures, normally you don't really go bleeding in between the 4 to the 5 through a phrase, unless normally you see it bleeding from 8 back to 1, then seeing it bleed from 4 to a 5. I really like that. I'm not saying you don't do it. I'm just saying it's not done enough to where it's a standard, I think is my point. I like it. I really, really like that part. I'm glad I caught on to that part. Yeah, there we go. On 5. 5. The ISO with a little trot of the feet is cool. Doesn't really look awkward. The throw there, you know, the throw, boom, boom. Doesn't feel like we're really using our back, but our tone does create a fullness that using our back would make it look cool. I like that he used his back there. You can tell he had a little residual effect at the end of it. So that's my note there for everybody. It could also be, we're a minute 48 in the routine. That's going to be one of the last things you think about when you do that move, when it's supposed to be freedom of movement in that one part in your range. You're not going to think about, I got to engage my back here. You're going to think, I'm going to throw my arm so I can move on a lot of times. But I do like the intention of everybody kind of resetting there. I like the pettiness from my guy over here. Fun. That was fun. Da 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 ti ti ti. Yeah, once again, back into the chorus. Similar to what it was before, but because it's clean, I can appreciate it. And it's varied enough in some of their choices that it allows me to not feel like, oh, I'm watching the same thing again. It's building in the same way, and I'm finding new things to appreciate. So I've talked about that before, but I like seeing that there, that brada. Cool. And there's that trot again, doon, doon. So they cross it in the back, and then they make it more linear or more towards both legs towards the front, which is cool. Turning it through. Range could always improve for that part. Also, I feel, this is just a personal note for me, that with this part, notice that they started transitioning during the turn. I would actually tell them to wait until the turn's finished before they transition, because it looks like their rotations cause them to be off. But that's just a note for me. I'm not saying they needed to change that, but if I were in a position where what I say influences how a routine is cleaned for this group, that would have been something I would have suggested or workshopped, because look what happens when they turn. He's already in a different spot, and they do have movement that allows them to move. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, this move right there would have been a good transition, but they only had about 2 counts to get to their spot. So I understand why they went ahead and started moving at the turn, but that's something that I have to work through of, okay, it's not that they lost their balance and they got off. They started transitioning early during the turn, not after. So that was interesting. The pull, I like that part. Do-do-do. That was nice with the reset on the hands. That was nice having your center. I don't know if he did it the first time, but I did like this choice where he was the only one front and everybody was diagonal, and then we all joined in together during the chorus. Also, his choices when he throws modifications to his feature, I do like, I appreciate, because it still showcases fullness in the upper body, but it allows the outlier for him to stay an outlier, and contribute to the physical push of the declaration that they're going for, which is nice. Like that hit and a run, and you have somebody turn, and by him turning early, it looks like it was to signal, hey, I'm about to be a feature, so it's okay if you start looking at me now. Felt like that, which, hey, mission accomplished. That's exactly what happened. Everybody else turned around on the bass after the end of the phrase. Once again, boom, dun, dun. This one felt more, we're just looking at it. It's not quite as much of a speed change. It feels more, we're existing in a natural state of being, not in a movement quality context, but just as a human context, which was nice. And it did make it look subtly different too. I like the throw, really nice on the reset. Run, Dee Dee pulling it in. I like that choice, looks great. Nice little, cool. This part I really, really like, especially from Bang Chan. Do you notice the reverb he did? I've talked about reverbs, but if this is your first video with me, a reverb is different than a recoil or a rebound, at least in the context that I use them. People word it in different ways, but a reverb goes from something large like when you hit a wall and you bounce off of it. It's like that, but instead of staying with the same energy as you go down versus up or side to side, it starts to mellow out, right? It's kind of like when you play with not a coil, but like one of those spring, like a metal spring. I think it's the only thing I can think of. And you go boom, it makes that sound and then it chills out. That's a reverb. Recoil is like a gun or shotgun where there's a huge accent and then there's minimal reverb at the end of it. And then you would have a rebound where there's the same amount of energy going in and out. So that would be, Dee Dee, probably one of these would be the example of you're rebounding the movement or you're hitting to accent turn, that kind of stuff. So in this case, what he did was a reverb. So notice he went from large to small right here. Well, his was still pretty big. So maybe, you could probably get a rebound, but I would call it reverb because he went from too big and it started to get a little small. And notice the speed change that we're about to do, rotating on the heels. And then we click. That doom. Notice the snaps aren't super crisp. There's like a couple like that sound, I call it like a Billie Eilish snap. On the white shirt, now red. That one, Bad Guy. I call that like a reverb snap. But here, that snap, it's not super crisp, and so having a little reverb sounds really appropriate and effective to that particular sound, and which I like. And then having Felix, I already knew before the start, so he doesn't really count in the marathon of somebody I learned. I already knew him. But in the center, I like that, where it's very, everybody's looking in different directions. I like the switch. They bring it through. That was very simple. Like each person has something simple, but notice the directions really made it feel more complex. And the points do signify like you're physically comparing yourself to someone, which they're saying don't do. And I would say, try not to. You know what? It's not a comparison thing. Don't use comparison as a justification to validate your feelings. I think that's what it is. Because that's not the appropriate way to use it. Because for me, I was thinking about that this whole time, because I even want to hear your thoughts too. But I kept thinking, why... is there a benefit to comparison? I would say yes. It's a good way to check in, but it's not a good way to, they're talking about the context of using comparison to identify with yourself of being competent or incompetent. No one has enough competency in something to be able to tell somebody else, sorry, you will never be good enough in this field. Maybe you're not where you want to be right now, but that's not the same thing as somebody telling someone you should just stop now. That's what right do you have to tell somebody that, And also, what right do you have to tell yourself that you don't have what it takes? How do you know? It's I think that's a big thing. So I would even, I'm trying to help push their concept or push their message because I agree with it. But what is a realistic approach to it? That would be what I would say is, you know, just like you guys wouldn't want me to sit here and compare myself to other analysts or other reactors or other choreographers in a way that makes me look down upon my own craft, but also not to puff up my own self-esteem either, but just looking at it as there's beauty to be had in everything. Let's find it together. It's kind of like that. And you can use comparisons as a fun toolkit to make that relevant or relatable to what you're currently viewing at, right? Like for me, I compared this to Block B, but in a complementary way. So I digress. I like the dig here. I like this in the performance version. Did I see in the music video? I'm not sure. But I like the small, and then they dug a little bit deeper and they bend those knees a little bit more. That's fun. And we're accenting a subtly different part of the track at that moment too, which made it enjoyable for sure. Point, point, point. Dun, dun, dun. Ding, ding. March it away, boys. And the switch, of course, I think some of them didn't quite switch at the same time, so that felt a little dysfunctional, but I personally liked that. It's fun. Then you have somebody tap. He's the same one who did the little shoulder part, right? That part, D, and it does feel, it's not like you're revving up a bike or a motorcycle, but you're going in reverse, like you're kicking something away, but with control. And I like that everyone's connected with their heads on that. And they made it bigger on the bum, bum, using the head to go, ah. Nice choice. There's a bleep. Wow, I love that choice. Then they go, woo, do, do, do. And then they chose to strobe. I think tick it out is what I would give them that. But one of my guys in the center noticed that his had an extra jerk about it. Now a jerk's different than a dime stop, or a pop, right? Or ticking would be a sequence, and then you have strobes, which would be controlled transition of dime stop. So in that case, he's just jerking or creating an interruption between the flow is how I would equate that. I wouldn't give it any technique because how he's refining the muscle engagement is just different. And so I don't mind it though, because it's hybrid choreo. They're not trying to justify a style. They're doing choreography that matches a musicality in an essence to their concept. So it doesn't bother me at all. I like the choice, but that's why he looked subtly different, as his felt more jerkish than other people's choices were a little bit more refined within a pop or a tick. I like that choice from him in the center. Boom, 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 and he throws it up. Very nice. Everybody's down, or they went from down low to high. I liked that. That was really nice. He walks away. Di-di-di-ma. And right there, drop into the knees. Good job. So in order to drop to the knees without getting too many bruises on them would be thinking about the hinge of the hips and counterbalancing. So trying to push your weight or like making your weight go back using the hips helps a lot to continue the line of the legs between the torso and the legs is the hips. And allowing as you drop to make it feel, instead of just a straight drop down, you actually make it more of a diagonal drop, if that makes sense, but it's an illusion. So I like the fact it looks like we projected our knees pretty okay there because it didn't sound too loud, but I bet somebody got a bruise or two out of this, and everyone's commitment with their head looking up looks great. I like that. Hajima, stop it. And I like the fact they're looking at each other. Boom, boom. Stop it. Love it. Yeah, throw, and everybody's hitting and accenting. So our two features were throwing up, not throwing up, but throwing their hands up and accent, but everybody else is down. So I liked that choice. Turning it through. That ba, ba, yes. So I would say my guy in the blonde right here, he does a really good job of creating fullness with that fringe. Work it, and then you have Bang Chan. I think that's Bang Chan. No, that's not Bang Chan. That's somebody else. My bad. Bang Chan's over there, but that fullness right there was really cool between those two. Maybe is that Hung, he's a vocalist. It starts with the letter H, right? Hung San or something like that. Maybe. Am I guessing more people today than I was expecting? Yes. Let's go, guessing game from here. There's that Nana. Back to the gimmicks right here. I love that they're like, don't take yourself so seriously. Great. And we're right there into the beginning. This does feel a little bit messier than the first time, but we're 3 minutes in. Who cares, right? Like that part. Very clean on the hops. Ba, da, 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 da. Looks great. Little shoot there, but some people have their arms down, some have them up. Everyone's on the same page with the lower body, so it allows for more freedom in the upper body. they go down. Notice that the rock stays the same, but they're bringing up the energy here. So I appreciate the fact that we were all on the same page in torso. And so whenever we saw this change, it felt polyrhythmic and complementary to what they were doing earlier, but not taking away from just the visual itself. Because there is a fine line between doing something for gimmick and fun, but also making it where we can clearly see what the intention of the choreography is. And they did a great job of that here, for sure. For that part specifically. Some people went a lot lower, some went higher, but once again, other dynamics remained the same, so it helped us see that more clearly. Cool. Glad. I like that. Pa da 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 da. Bow. Nice little reverse. Pop. They're there. Whoa, we did it. Whoa. Good. Way to go, guys. This was good. I appreciated the pacing of it, and I liked the gimmicks and the humor too. It was good. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more Stray Kids, I have it both on a show context and in a marathon dance analysis context. I've taken a look at them through Kingdom Legendary War, and I think I have one more episode to watch at this point in time, but soon that will not be the case. And I also have been looking at them in a marathon format from debut up until their most recent work, which is really cool. Seeing a lot of things that are different about this group than what I normally look at for marathons, I think is also an interesting find for me specifically, and I am looking forward to seeing more. Once again, my name is Jess. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.